is somebody who's an extremely powerful force within Fail Safe. And when I call her name out, you guys are going to recognize Miss Tonia Garnett. She owned it.
Thank you, Lou. I'm going to make the most of my 2 minutes. On July 4th, 2021, I was shot and left for dead in the city of Fredericksburg. When the loud bang rang out, I didn't realize I was shot until I felt the blood coming out of my neck, and I reached up to plug the bullet hole in my neck, and before I knew it, I was shot again. It was broad daylight. This is a holiday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And everyone ran, and there I was, laying on the pavement. Now, I don't know why some people are shot and they die and some people live. I don't claim to know that. But what I do know is the same God that saved me that day has placed a burning purpose inside me to help others, to help my people. Now, I wish I could pause right there and tell you that at that moment, I had an epiphany that my life needed to change and that I needed to take the necessary steps to change my life. But I didn't, because I was chained. I was chained to this thing we call addiction. And see, addiction, it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about your status. It doesn't care about your gender, your race, nothing. It keeps you running back to the same thing that is destroying your life. And that's my story. I kept running back to what was destroying my life. So, you know, I stand here right now, and I told you, I'm going to make the most of my 2 minutes. It's not about me. Honestly, it's not about me. And I planned, you know, my speech and my words, but I'm going to cut it right to the end, because what I want you to know is I'm standing here for all the men and women that will come after me and stand right here and accept their award. I'm standing here for the men that are currently incarcerated in environments that violence is an everyday norm. They're coming home one day. I'm standing here for the women that have been separated from their children. They're coming home to be reunited with those children one day. I'm standing here for the families that will see their loved one transformed because of the people in this room and this great organization, Fail Safe Era. Now, there's one thing that I want to make sure to say, and I want you to hear my heart on this. I've been arrested and incarcerated well over 10 times, and the first arrest was at the age of 18. At no point during any of those earlier incarcerations did change take place. It wasn't until I met Juanita Shanks and the Fail Safe Courage to Change. Remember, I said, hear my heart on this. You cannot punish someone into changed behavior. Incarceration alone is not the answer. You must have programmatic content that will teach someone how to change behavior. And that's what I got in Deanna, that love letter. That's the first thing Juanita said is, I want you ladies to write a love letter to yourselves. And I went back to that 6x9, and I tried to write that love letter. And what I realized is I never loved myself. I never loved myself, and I couldn't write that letter. Now, I was one of 8% at the time of ladies that got into that class, Courage to Change. So when we call for volunteers and we call for people to give of themselves to grow our program, it is because it shouldn't be 8%. Now, I don't know all the numbers right now off the top of my head, but I did the statistics. I had the time when I was in that 6x9 to do those statistics. Now, why was I in that class? Because I made a surrender to God while I was in that 6x9. I had reached my rock bottom, and rock bottom looks differently for every person.
Right.
It will surprise you what rock bottom looks like. But what is the same about rock bottom with every individual that reaches it is they reach a moment in time where their mind says, I have no other option but to change. No other option. And it was that surrender to God, because finally I said, I'm not trying to get out of my situation this time. All I'm doing is saying, God, change me while I'm here. And he did. He did change me, because that's when the door opened. And I'm going to wrap it up. And I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you to my personal board of directors, Sean and Patty, for being here tonight. Thank you to my friends Cindy, Susan, and Chelsea for being here tonight. Thank you to my husband, who has stood with me for 30 years. And I say thank you from all the lives that are right here. You don't see them, but they're coming. They will be here. I stand here before you now because of this program as an author. I have recently released a book called Enough is Enough, I Won't Be a Statistic. I hope you will go to the table outside these doors and grab you a copy before you leave tonight. Thank you for your support. I will not be a statistic of addiction. I will not be a statistic of mental illness. I will not be a statistic of incarceration.
Thank you to all of our Courage to Change recipients. And to each of the